Good evening, my friends. Tonight, I'd like to invite you into a different way of thinking. Before we go any further, take a moment and bring to mind a pleasant memory from your past. Think of a time when life surprised you in the best possible way. Perhaps it was a personal achievement, a joyful celebration, or a moment when everything seemed to fall perfectly into place. Now pay attention to how that memory feels. You are not trying to convince yourself it happened. You are not wishing it were true or hoping it becomes real. There is no effort involved. You simply know it happened. The event is complete. It belongs to your past, and because of that, it carries a calm certainty that requires no proof. Stay with that feeling for a moment, the simple confidence of something already accomplished. Then consider this question: what if you approached your desires in exactly the same way? What if, instead of seeing them as future possibilities, you remembered them as completed experiences? What if you could look back on your dream as though it had already unfolded and become part of your personal history? Tonight, I want to share one of the most powerful methods I have ever discovered for influencing the subconscious mind. It is remarkably simple, which is why many people overlook it. Yet once you truly understand and apply it, you'll begin to wonder why you ever struggled with manifestation in any other way. I call this approach the thankful past. To understand its power, we first need to recognize the mistake most people make. When they think about money, relationships, health, success, or any cherished goal, they automatically place it somewhere ahead of them. They say, "When I have enough money, I'll feel safe. When I meet the right person, I'll be fulfilled. When my body recovers, I'll feel peaceful. When my business grows, I'll finally relax." This feels perfectly reasonable because desire seems to point toward the future. After all, what we want appears to be something we don't yet have. But here's what is actually happening beneath the surface. Every time you place your desire in the future, you reinforce the idea that it is absent in the present. You continually declare that it has not yet arrived. Day after day, the subconscious receives the same message: not abundance, but lack; not fulfillment, but waiting. The subconscious mind does not respond to your wishes. It responds to your assumptions. And when your assumption is, "I don't have it yet," that is exactly the state being impressed upon it. The result is predictable: more waiting, more longing, more signs that you're getting closer without ever feeling you've arrived. Many people spend years trapped in this cycle, wondering why their manifestations remain just out of reach. The way out is not to become better at hoping. It is not to imagine more intensely in the future. The answer is to change your relationship with time altogether and begin remembering your desire instead of anticipating it. Everything rests on this understanding. The subconscious mind does not operate through future tense. It does not respond to "one day," "eventually," or "I will." Those phrases imply distance. They suggest that what you seek exists somewhere outside your current reality. The subconscious responds most strongly to what is accepted as fact. Statements like "I am" carry power because they suggest present possession. But there is something even more convincing to the deeper mind. Consider phrases such as "I remember when," "I received," "I experienced," or "that was such a wonderful time." Why are these so powerful? Because the past carries an undeniable sense of completion. A finished event needs no effort, no faith, no struggle. It simply exists as something that already occurred. And here is the insight that changes everything. Your subconscious does not distinguish between a memory created through imagination and one recorded through physical experience. To the creative power within you, both function as memories, both are accepted as realities, both carry the potential to shape your future experience. What you consistently imagine today eventually becomes what you naturally remember tomorrow. The imagination is not merely creating fantasy. It is constructing the memories that will become the foundation of your reality. Every memory you carry today was once nothing more than an imagined possibility before it became an experience. At some point, what you now call the past first existed as a picture in your mind. So why not use that principle deliberately? Why not begin with the memory and allow physical reality to arrange itself around it? This is not about fooling yourself. It is not pretending circumstances don't exist. It is the conscious use of imagination as a creative force. In its simplest form, it is one of the most direct ways a person can influence the subconscious mind. To understand this fully, you must notice the difference between imagining something ahead of you and remembering something behind you. The distinction may seem small, but it changes everything because feeling is what truly matters. When people visualize a desired future, there is often a hidden effort underneath the image. Even when the scene is vivid and positive, there is usually a subtle sense of striving. There is still a distance between where they are and where they want to be. There is still a feeling that something must happen before they can become the person they wish to be. That distance creates separation, and separation is simply another form of saying, not yet. The conscious mind may not notice it, but the subconscious certainly does. It does not respond to the details of the picture nearly as much as it responds to the emotional atmosphere beneath it. Now compare that to the feeling of recalling a genuine memory. Think about an experience from years ago that brought you happiness. Notice how effortless it feels. You are not trying to make it happen. You are not moving toward it. There is no uncertainty attached to it. You simply know it occurred. It happened. You lived it. It is complete. That quiet certainty is the exact emotional state we want to create. The thankful past technique is designed to generate that feeling of settled completion. Instead of placing your desire somewhere ahead of you, you place it behind you as something already experienced. When the subconscious receives the impression of an event that feels finished, accepted, and accomplished, it naturally begins organizing reality to reflect that assumption. Its function is simple. It mirrors whatever is accepted as true. So here is how you practice it. Tonight, as you prepare for sleep, choose one clear desire. Not a vague wish for life to improve, but one specific outcome you genuinely want to experience. Then do something different. Do not imagine it happening tomorrow. Do not watch it arrive in some distant future moment. Instead, create a memory of it already having happened. Perhaps it occurred a month ago, maybe 3 weeks ago, maybe only 14 days ago. The exact timing does not matter. What matters is selecting a point in the past that feels believable and easy to accept. Now build a scene around that memory. Importantly, do not place yourself in the moment of receiving the desire. Place yourself beyond it. Create a scene where the event has already been part of your life long enough that you are simply reflecting on it. For example, if your goal involves money, imagine yourself sitting comfortably at home. Perhaps you're enjoying a quiet evening and casually thinking back to the day everything changed. You remember opening a message that confirmed the funds had arrived. You remember the rush of surprise. You remember sharing the news with someone close to you and reliving their reaction. The event itself is already over. You are remembering it from a place where it has become part of your history. If your desire involves physical healing, imagine standing in front of a mirror and reflecting on a medical appointment from several weeks ago. You remember the doctor's expression. You remember hearing the good news. You remember sitting alone afterward, letting the reality of it sink in. You remember the messages you sent to loved ones. The healing is no longer approaching. In your memory, it has already happened. If your desire is the restoration of a relationship, picture yourself enjoying an ordinary day while thinking back to the phone call that changed everything. You remember seeing the incoming number. You remember hearing their voice after such a long silence. You remember the emotions that surfaced in that moment. And now, weeks later, the relationship feels natural again. It is simply part of your life. Notice the shift. You are no longer chasing an outcome. You are no longer waiting for evidence. You are not standing on one side of a gap trying to reach the other. You are remembering. You are reflecting. You are looking back on something that feels finished, real, and fully integrated into your life. And that feeling of completion is exactly what the subconscious mind understands best. You are not forcing yourself to accept something that feels doubtful. You are not struggling to generate belief. Instead, you are recalling it as though it already belongs to your life story. And that is what gives memory such extraordinary power. A remembered event carries a level of certainty that future-focused imagination rarely achieves. Now let's talk about gratitude, because the type of gratitude used in this practice is unlike the kind most people are familiar with. Many people express gratitude while still mentally placing their desire in the future. They say things like, "Thank you for what is coming," or "Thank you for what I am about to receive." And while that can certainly help shift your state, it still contains an element of anticipation. The gratitude of the thankful past is different. It comes from the perspective of someone looking back on an event that has already unfolded. You find yourself thinking, "I'm so grateful everything worked out the way it did. The timing couldn't have been better. I'm thankful I no longer have to carry that burden. I'm relieved that chapter is behind me." Notice the difference. This isn't the gratitude of expectation. It is the gratitude of fulfillment. It carries the emotional signature of someone who has already crossed the finish line. The challenge is over. The uncertainty has ended. There is nothing left to chase. There is a warmth in that feeling, a gentle sense of release, a quiet exhale that comes when something you've worried about for a long time is finally resolved. That emotional quality is incredibly powerful because it sends a clear message to the subconscious mind. The message is simple, it's finished, and that is exactly the signal the subconscious responds to most effectively. To understand why, let's look at what is happening beneath the surface. The subconscious does not operate from future possibilities. It functions from accepted realities. It takes whatever you emotionally identify as true and begins organizing your experience around it. It influences perception, behavior, opportunities, relationships, and circumstances so that the outer world gradually reflects the inner assumption. If your dominant state is hoping, it reinforces more hoping. If your dominant state is trying to believe, it produces more situations that require effort and belief. But when your dominant state is one of remembered fulfillment, when you genuinely feel as though the desired event is already part of your personal history, the subconscious begins working from that completed premise. It treats the experience as accomplished and moves life in ways that reflect that conclusion. This is not about superstition. It is not about forcing reality. It is simply the operation of a law that has always been active, whether you were aware of it or not. The only difference now is that you are using it consciously. There is another element that can make this practice even more effective. Once you have entered the memory and can vividly sense it, the environment, the emotions, the details, I want you to remember something else. Remember who you were before it happened. Feel the contrast. Not merely the excitement of success, but the relief that comes after uncertainty has ended. Think about how often you used to worry about it. Maybe you checked your messages constantly, waiting for news. Maybe you spent sleepless nights wondering how everything would work out. Maybe there were days when you could see no solution at all. Now imagine yourself remembering that former version of you. I used to stress over this every day. I used to wonder how it would ever happen. It's amazing how much energy I spent worrying about something that eventually resolved itself. That contrast creates a powerful emotional shift. Why? Because relief is one of the clearest indicators that something has already been received. Hope belongs to the period before fulfillment. Relief belongs to the period after fulfillment. And since the subconscious creates from feeling rather than words, it naturally responds more strongly to the emotional state of completion than to the emotional state of anticipation. When you consistently embody relief, you are communicating that the desired outcome is no longer pending. It has already become reality. There is one final idea at the heart of this entire method that deserves attention because it changes the way you think about creation itself. Most people believe the past is fixed and untouchable. They see it as the one part of life that cannot be altered because it has already happened. It seems permanent, settled, closed. But from the perspective of imagination, something remarkable becomes apparent. The past you carry is not merely a collection of events. It is a collection of memories, meanings, and interpretations held within consciousness. And consciousness is where all creation begins. When you intentionally create a memory of fulfillment and repeatedly occupy it with feeling, you are not escaping reality. You are selecting a new inner experience from which reality can emerge. The creative power within you does not ask whether a memory came from physical events or imaginative experience. It responds to what feels real. And when a memory feels real enough, it becomes the foundation upon which future experiences are built. That is why this technique is so powerful. You are no longer waiting for life to give you a memory. You are creating the memory first and allowing life to follow its lead. Yet, when viewed through the lens of consciousness, the creative field from which all experiences emerge, the past is not as rigid as it appears. What you call a memory is not something you travel back to retrieve. Every time you remember an event, you are recreating it in your imagination right now, in this present moment. Think about it. When you recall something that happened yesterday, you are not opening a vault and replaying a perfect recording. You are using imagination in the present to reconstruct what you believe took place. The act of remembering happens now. It always happens now. And if that is true, then both memory and expectation arise from the same source. One appears to move backward, the other forward, but both are products of consciousness. Both are acts of imagination. Both carry creative influence. This means that just as you can intentionally imagine a different future, you can also consciously create a different past. You can build a memory in which your desire has already been fulfilled. You can make it vivid, detailed, and emotionally real until it feels like an authentic experience. When you do this, the subconscious accepts the impression of completion. It accepts the event as something accomplished rather than something pending. From that point, your inner world begins operating from fulfillment rather than anticipation. In a sense, you are no longer creating from your current circumstances. You are creating from an imagined point in your past where the desire already became reality. Then the present naturally begins arranging itself between that remembered fulfillment and the life you are experiencing now. This is not about self-deception. It is about understanding that imagination and memory are expressions of the same creative faculty. One is directed toward what appears to be ahead, the other toward what appears to be behind. Yet both originate from the same power within you. And when that power is guided deliberately and supported by genuine feeling, it becomes one of the most transformative forces available to human experience. So tonight, before you fall asleep, I invite you to practice this for yourself. Choose one desire, keep it clear and specific, then close your eyes and mentally step into a point in the past. Perhaps it is 3 weeks ago, maybe a month ago. Choose whatever feels natural and believable. Now imagine that your desire had already been fulfilled at that time. Do not focus on the moment it arrived. Instead, place yourself beyond that moment. Enter the ordinary reality that followed. Allow yourself to experience the simple, everyday feeling of living with the result. Where are you? What room surrounds you? What time of day is it? What are you wearing? What sounds fill the space? Is there a familiar scent in the air? Who did you tell when everything finally worked out? What was their reaction? What words were exchanged? Bring these details to life until the memory feels tangible. But above all else, focus on the feeling. Notice what it feels like to realize you no longer have to wait. Notice what it feels like to know the uncertainty is gone. Notice the relief of putting down a burden you carried for far too long. Allow yourself to feel the calm gratitude of someone who already received what they once desired. Stay with that feeling. Remain there until it loses the intensity of a wish and takes on the naturalness of a memory. Until it feels ordinary. Until it feels obvious. Until it feels like something you no longer question. Simply, yes, that happened. Then drift into sleep from that state, not trying, not forcing, not reaching toward a future outcome, simply remembering. For most of your life, you may have placed your desires somewhere ahead of you, always waiting for a future moment to deliver them. Tonight, try something different. Place them behind you. Let them become part of your personal history. Feel the relief of knowing the struggle has ended. Feel the gratitude of someone who has already received the gift. Feel the quiet comfort of looking back on the moment everything changed for the better. And trust that process with the same effortless certainty you trust any cherished memory from your life. In time, what you repeatedly remember in imagination can become what you naturally remember as lived experience. The memory you created becomes the foundation for the experience you eventually recognize. The imagined past becomes the lived past. And one day you may find yourself reflecting on how such a simple shift transformed everything. Because the secret was never about waiting for your desire to arrive. The secret was learning how to feel as though it already had. Thank you for spending this time with me here at Neville Wisdom Library. I appreciate you being part of this journey, and I look forward to sharing more with you in the next video. Until then, take care and remember, what feels complete within has a remarkable way of expressing itself without.